Hello everybody and God bless. So on July 12th, I heard clear as day in my spirit, and what I heard was, when you speak in tongues, you are surrendering yourself to God. So when we speak in tongues, we're surrendering ourselves to God. And recently I've just been learning a lot about speaking in tongues and why it's important to try and pray as long as you can in tongues. It's very important to try and do that as much as you can. I've talked about before how when I pray, a lot of times I do sing, but if I'm not singing, I try to speak in tongues as much as I can. If I can't do that, then I'll just talk to God. But if I can tap into speaking into tongues, I would try my best to do that as long as I possibly can. And it's really, really powerful, and it really protects you against the kingdom of darkness. So another thing is, I recently talked about a vision that I saw, and it was a friend of mine, and I had to tell them that they did have the gift to speak in tongues and they needed to tap into it. And I've been just talking a lot about how to try and tap into speaking into tongues and receive gifts from God and things like that. One thing that my mom mentioned, and I've talked about this on my video, but my mom really talked about it to me, about how godly patterns, and I've talked about that before, godly patterns, how the kingdom of darkness they have their own patterns against you. So if you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night at the same exact time, or you find yourself getting angry at the same exact time, or doing anything that has nothing to do with God, all of a sudden at the same exact time, you have this crazy what if thought or anything like that. Most likely the kingdom of darkness is doing satanic things against you at the same exact time, and that is an ungodly pattern. And so for us as Christians, we need to create godly patterns. So Sabbath is one pattern that if you show up on Sabbath on time and you celebrate God on time at the same time every day, which is obviously sunset, and sunset is a different time, but it's still a pattern. I'm showing up on time for Sabbath. That is a godly pattern. The 9th hour prayer is a godly pattern. Yes, throughout the season, the time is going to change, but showing up on time 9 hours after the sun rises is a pattern. Now, I personally have my own patterns. I do have a set time that I have created with God, and I do a certain thing for God at on the same time every single day. You want to do that and isolate yourself as best as you can. Now, I have two different patterns. I do have a pattern that I'm praying that entire time, or I'm reading the Bible that entire time, but I also have another pattern where I literally put my phone on do not disturb. And if you have an iPhone, I don't know about other phones, but on the iPhone, they have focuses. And on the focus setting, if you go all the way down, it will give you options to do extra filters, and I have an extra filter on my messages, so my text message stuff, and I can literally put on there what messages I can see. So right now I only have on a lot of my focuses, not all of them, like my workout focus and my reading focus, I don't need it on there, but on my focus that I use during fasting, and my focus that I use during Sabbath, which is Sabbath right now, so if you hear singing and stuff like that in the background, that's that. And then I'm also a little dirty because we just got done eating, and Charity was sitting right next to me. Anyways, so on those filters, I have on there that when I open up my text message app, I can literally only see my mom and my sister. Any text messages that we've had, I can only see that. And the only way that I'll be able to see anybody else's text messages is if I turn off those focuses. And I also have them set for a certain time. During that time of those patterns that I have created, and also during Sabbath, 9th hour prayer, it'll automatically go on, so that way I am not late and I don't accidentally not turn it on and then get distracted during that time. So I tell people, you can text me all you want, it's not going to bother me at all, because I'm literally not getting any notifications during those times. And then also what I like to do is I'll go into my main settings, and I will put on my notifications that I cannot see previews of my notifications at all. Because even on the lock screen, even though I have I don't get notifications on certain things, it'll put in a little summary oh, these are the notifications you have received during this focus. And it's I don't want to see that, and I don't want to accidentally see it. So I go and I turn that, and it'll just say like, oh, you got a notification from Messenger, or you got a notification from Cash App, or from Notion, things like that. You just got notifications to all these things, and it won't tell me what the notification is. So it doesn't take my focus off of God. I don't get distracted. And so I'm just saying that for people out there, at least with iPhones, I don't know about other phones, but those are really, really good options to do. Use those focuses. They're great and perfect to really keep your mindset on God, especially if you have it set scheduled times. My phone literally, like, I'll be in the middle of texting someone, and if that set time pulls up, and if I go off the text screen, like off their actual text message, and I go to the main set of when it shows all of your text messages, their messages will be gone. Like, it's not there anymore because my focus has started. So it's really awesome. And then also you can choose different home screens. I've shown this before. So if you've seen my Bible study video, you've seen that I've shown how my phone is set up. I've changed it a little bit that I've learned more about focus. So that's one thing. Really try and during those patterns, I do recommend not talking to anybody as much as you can. Obviously, as a mother, I have to talk to my child, and obviously since I live with my mom, I have to talk to my mom. But if I did not live with my mom, honestly, I would be like, I'm sorry, but this is during my pattern. I cannot talk to you either. Because this is that pattern time. So what I try to do, even though I live with other people, is sometimes I'll try to find a room in the house, and I'll just stay in there by myself as long as I can. I guess it's hard for me to find like a full quiet time during that pattern, but I try. And that's what's really important, is that at least we're trying. Like with Sabbath, try. I understand, like when I first got saved, I had to work during, not when I keep on saying when I first got saved, but when I like was serious about following God, I had to work during Sabbath the first couple of weeks because I was pregnant, and I knew that there was no way, like if I would have quit my job, and also I didn't feel led to quit my job, but if I would have quit my job, and how, like, I was literally about to pop like within a couple of days, I knew that I wouldn't get another job. So I knew I had to stay at that job, and especially since God did not lead me to leave the job. And so what I did, even though I'm at work and I'm working on Sabbath, is I would still try and find times to isolate myself, find times that I wouldn't talk to people unless I really, really had to. It was one of those like speak unless spoken to type of things. And I did the best I could during those times. And I used to work at Dave & Buster's at that time, and they have huge TV screens. I did not look at them. And even during like not being on Sabbath, you do not want to look at the TV anyways, because a lot of times there's like satanic stuff on there. But either way, my point is I still tried. A lot of people I feel like are like, oh, well, I have to work, so I'm not going to try anything at all. Or, or I have to this school event or this and this and this, so I'm not going to try at all. And it's like, at least try. And from my experience, when I did that, when I said, God, like, I'm going to do the best I can, and also, like, I'm about to look for another job, like, I'm going to be led by God, but, like, I'm still going to, like, keep my options open, try and look for another job that's going to allow me not to work during Sabbath. And then on top of that, like, my boss cannot fire me just because I can't work Friday night and Saturday morning when I can work every other day. So what I plan to do is just try not to find a babysitter on those during that time. Because I was like, I'm going to try my best to work for God. And sure enough, God didn't just give me a better job that allowed me not to have to work not to have to work for man during Sabbath, but God also moved me out and got me like a whole better situation. So it was great. Like, God really does bless his people when you try. He's not stupid. He's also not a tyrant God. So you can't just be like, oh, well, I tried or whatever. Like, you really need to try. Okay. And especially, like I said, with the kingdom of darkness doing patterns, and you could look at yourself, you can be like, oh, well, I'm nothing, I'm not doing anything. Yeah, you're not doing anything, because most likely there is spiritual things being done against you to stop you from doing things. You might have a huge calling on your life, but you can't do it because you are just, oh, whatever, you know what I mean? So you need to fight. We have to fight against the grain. We have to find those patterns. We have to stick to those patterns. Like my pattern, when I first started it, I said, I said to God, I said, God, I'm going to try and keep this pattern until a certain blessing comes upon me that God has shown me is going to happen. I have no idea when this blessing is going to happen. It might not happen until like we get raptured. It might not happen to the next earth. Might not even happen till I'm like on my deathbed or something. I don't know. But either way, I still told God I would try. Now the Bible says don't make vows. I did not make a vow, so I can easily drop this at any time. But I am the type of person, when I say I'm going to try and do something, I'm going to try and do it. And so I said, God, I'm going to try to keep this pattern with you until that blessing comes. And I remember saying that because I was like, God, I am doing this because I have faith. I also have faith in that blessing to come. So that is why I'm going to keep this pattern. I'm going to keep this pattern as long as I can until that blessing comes on me. And so that's the whole point of like what I'm talking about, is just keeping those patterns and trying. Don't just say, oh, I'll do it, and then come up with this excuse and that excuse, or like, I'm not used to doing this and I'm not used to doing that. Like, a lot of people didn't even try to do the fast that my mom called out because they were like, oh, I'm not used to it, because they didn't even try. And it's like, at least try. And I remember talking about this, about how the Bible talks about waking up early in the morning to pray, and you hear people complain about that, and it's just like, stop complaining, just do it. Okay, just do it. Now, I'm not trying to brag on myself or anything like that, but the point is that 15-day fast my mom called, that was my first time doing something like that. I did not have to ease into it. I didn't have to learn into it. Now, I understand that there's a lot of people out there with that genuinely have issues and body issues and like that. But from my testimony, so I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, but I'm just talking about my own testimony. I have a very, very high metabolism. Growing up, if I did not eat for a certain amount of time, I would be in so much pain I could not walk. And that certain amount of time would be like a couple of hours. Okay. My metabolism, I did a test when I was younger to figure it out, and it literally said like I could die. Like, my metabolism is that fast. Like, it's really, really, really fast. And so obviously, like, 15-day fast, no water and stuff like that, you would think somebody with me. And then also, like, I very low iron. I had very low iron. It was really bad. So I needed food. But I remember when we started that 15-day fast, I said to myself, I'm going to try. I am a little bit worried, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to try and do it. And I said it in my heart, like, I'm going to try and do it. And that's when I received a word, and I believe it was from God telling me that it was okay for me to have at least drinks that were 50 calories or less. Okay. So I said, all right, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try my best to keep this. And I kid you not, I did it. I did the whole 15-day fast. I was fine. Yes, granted, you do want to take your vitamin drinks like that. But my point is, like, don't go into something complaining or having negative thoughts about it, saying, oh, well, I can't do this. I can't do it. I can't do it because of this. I'm scared. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Just do it. Just do it as best as you can. Sometimes my time was late at night, and I was like, hey, well, I have to do it late at night. I'm just going to pray to God late at night. That's the time that I found. And I said, I'm going to do the best I can. And like I said, I have a pattern that I try my best to isolate myself, and it's hard for me to do that when I live with other people, but I'm still going to try. I'm not going to say, oh, well, I can't isolate myself, so I'm not going to do anything at all. Like, no, I'm going to try the best I can. Remember, God looks at our heart. So if you really are doing this in your heart, I do believe that God is going to bless you. So we sort of got off the topic of tongues for a minute because I really want to emphasize on patterns. That's what I'm really trying to talk to you guys about. It's patterns, and just trying to do those patterns as best as you can. Stop making excuses. Just do it. Just do the best you can. And I guarantee you, God will bless you. He will bless you, and He will make it to a way that you can do that pattern the way like you want to do it. Like, I want to find an isolated area that I can do the pattern. And so that's my point. Just find those patterns, believe in God to lead you and guide you, and to make it easier for you to keep those patterns. And I guarantee God will bless you. He will bless you more and more and more. And like in the beginning, what I was talking about is tongues is a way of surrendering yourself to God. So making these patterns is a way of surrendering yourself, saying, God, I trust in you. I trust in you to bless me when I surrender myself to you, keeping these patterns. And I believe that you are going to give me these gifts. You're going to give me the gifts to see visions, dreams, to prophesy, the gift of preaching and the gift of speaking tongues, which is the whole point of this video. I do believe God is going to grant you with those things. You have to surrender yourself to him. Stop coming up with excuses. You see, look at yourself in the mirror. You see, say, okay, well, I feel negative, or I feel busy all the time, or I just feel things that are not what God wants me to feel. You know that is not right with God. So fix it. Okay. Don't just be like, well, I tried, whatever. Fix it. You're constantly angry. Fix it. You're constantly busy. Fix it. You're constantly doing these things that are not right with God. Constantly just dealing with things that are distracting you from God's design for you. Fix it as best as you can. Surrender yourself to God. Surrender yourself therefore unto God. Okay. Well, submit yourself therefore unto God. Resist the devil, he will flee from you. And that is so deep. It really goes with this. Surrendering yourself, submitting yourself to the Lord. And that will help you. That will help you get gifts from God, which will in turn help you be able to resist the devil and have him flee from you. So yeah, that's all I want to say, guys. God bless you all.